Welcome back to Comic Book Nation, the only show that does it all for geek culture and the official podcast of comicbook.com. I am your host, Kofi Outlaw, and joining me today are my co-hosts, Matthew Aguilar and Janelle Wheeler. What's up, guys?
Hello. Good morning.
All right, so we got a provocative title today. Will Captain America Brave New World be a box office bomb? But we'll get to that. We're going to talk about Captain America Brave New World and the situation kind of shaping up there in the kind of larger question of this make or break year we're entering with Marvel Studios and Marvel content. But first, we also got to talk about the Oscars a little bit, because, whoa, Stephen Prime, pause. We're already getting comments in the live chat. And we're 2 comments in, and already we got a pause. But shout out to Stephen Prime over on YouTube, your favorite threesome, and we're doing fine. Not awkward at all. So, it's good to see you guys. I saw Janelle Wheeler just last night. We were kicking it, having a couple margaritas, and with the rest of our new team, and kind of hanging out, which was a good time. We had a good time. So.
Yes.
Yeah, and it was good to see you. I haven't seen you. I finally got to give you your baby gift
gift. I waited to open it up with the hubs. We are so grateful. Thank you for thinking of us.
Oh, but see, I didn't trust me past me. See, I know not to trust. After this multiverse stuff, I know you got to watch yourselves. So I knew my past self. So I bought that thing so he can have time to grow into it. That's how you got to do these things.
Thank you for that.
Because if I had waited this long time to give you that now, you'd be like, thanks for this thing I can't use anymore. But I was like, all right, give yourself a runway so you get this gift off. But now it was good seeing you. It was good seeing everybody from the team at Savage. And shout out to my boy Ben Kendrick, who was here in Nashville in town, the old Screen Rant reunion. But we had a good time. But back to business, everybody. So we got a lot to talk about today. There's some fun Marvel stuff, some fun DC stuff. We have to do some Cinema Nation as we talk about the Oscars. So, as usual, the Oscar nominations are out, and oh boy, Oscars so crazy. This year is wild. The Best Picture race, I think most people will know Wicked and Dune Part 2. I think those are going to be the kind of the public facing movies on here. I saw Nora, which is one of my favorite movies of the year, and I recommend everybody go check that out. I'm not going to describe to you because I didn't know fully what it was about when I went to see it, but awesome from Mickey, what's her name, in just a great, crazy movie. And if you want to know what it's in the vein of something like Uncut Gems, where it's just like, kind of street level type story that gets crazier as it goes along, and good stuff. The Brutalist, which won the Golden Globes, which nobody saw coming. I've seen all of these because I haven't been a critics group here in Nashville, and so I've had to kind of sort through all these, but we're not going to take too much time from this. I will say, here's what I think you guys should see. You should see Dune Part 2 if you haven't. You should see Conclave. The Emilia Perez conversation is hilarious because, again, this was a movie I didn't know anything about when I sat down to watch it. Do you guys know what this movie's about? I didn't, because it sounds like a comedic pitch. No, Emilia Perez.
No, I know nothing about
so it stars among its stars are Zoe Saldana and
I know that
Gomez.
Like Selena, I love her, but I've never even heard of this movie until the Golden Globes.
So this movie is a musical about a Mexican cartel boss who wants to transition and starts a new life as a woman, but wants to reconnect with his family who doesn't know that he transitioned. And Zoe Saldana is a lawyer that helps him to do this. And Selena Gomez is his wife that doesn't know, who thinks he reintroduces himself as her husband's sister. And it's like this whole kind of almost like Spanish telenovela style kind of drama about this Miss Doubtfire type secret about what's going on. It's crazy, and it's a musical. And so it's like all this thing, like there's this musical number called La Mala, which is all about like the world and how we pay for things and all these compromises we make. So, I mean, it's not a bad movie. It's actually pretty crazy, but I mean, it's a pretty wild concept, and it's a pretty wild, I mean, when I say it's like telenovela level drama. It's pretty nuts. So that's Amelia Perez, and it getting this many nominations with The Brutalist is something I think nobody saw coming. And it feels like we're back in that like Hollywood bubble type thing where it's like a bunch of, because this is not even like online critics. Like we liked these films, and I nominated Amelia Perez for like musical numbers, production. It's nuts because it takes like modern day Mexico and then breaks out in song and dance numbers at night, but it's like gritty and because it's about cartels and the world and like all this stuff. But it's, yeah, I think we're not connecting with the people. You know what I mean? Like I think we're far off from things that we could have done. But Wicked's a big one because Wicked has been this big breakthrough success. And it was good to see kind of Cynthia and Ariana and like everything and, you know, John Chu and all of that get kind of recognized. But yeah, not a good thing for the geeks this year.
Mm-mm.
Not a good year for us geeks, right?
The first thing I did was look for Deadpool anywhere.
Deadpool and Wolverine, right?
Yep.
Like, yeah. So, yeah, it's going to be another weird year for the Oscars. Nothing we got to get too upset about. I will say Nickel Boys is something I want to see win. Nickel Boys is amazing.
I'm so proud of you for seeing these.
I have it's literally my unpaid job to do that. But The Substance, I mean, getting horror up there with The Substance is a big deal. Like I think that was a surprise.
Was all over the place. Alien, Romulus was everywhere.
Oh,
right?
yeah. For like, I think for like what technical and like production stuff. For
yeah.
And Nosferatu got
Dune.
Yeah. And so like, yeah, we're getting some genre in here. We're kind of starting to kind of have it trickle in. But I think, yeah, we could have done more this year.
I agree.
In The Substance, but I'm happy to see The Substance up there. I think Demi Moore winning the Golden Globe was kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But that's got to also be a mind F for poor Margot Qualley, because like to have one half of them win but not the other is kind of nuts for that movie. And if you know what that movie is about, it's about an aging actress, Demi Moore, who begins to use this process called The Substance, which lets her basically put her consciousness in a younger body grown from her own DNA. But while she can live a week as that person and then a week back in her body and her normal body, while her kind of aged husk, but whoever's not living is just like on the floor being fed through tubes of nutrients for a week.
Whoa.
And it begins to be about like what happens when the younger one starts to get famous and starts to get like that ego kind of crazy. And she begins to take more time and more DNA from the older one. And there's these adverse effects and it goes off the rails. It's crazy by the end what happens. And yeah, and it's crazy.
No wonder Hollywood's obsessed with that. They totally want that to be able to happen.
Oh, yeah. No, yeah. They would literally eat themselves. This is kind of the joke of the movie is like Hollywood would eat themselves to keep it going. Yeah. The directing thing, I think, really kind of made some people mad. But Coralie, yeah, Matt, it's unhinged. I think you might like it, though. I think you actually might weirdly enjoy The Substance because of how just unhinged it is. Dennis Quaid is great in that, too. Like, he is nuts in that as, like, the douchiest kind of Hollywood casting guy you could ever possibly be. But so yeah, we got a little bit of genre in there. So, you know, good for us. But yeah, I think some people like if this is a sample audience of what the Oscars is going to be, if you two are the sample audience, yeah, it's not gonna resonate that heavily with the general public this year when we get to the ceremony. So good luck, Hollywood. Keep congratulating yourself. I mean, but there's things I'm not mad at. I mean, we got people like, it's good to see Sebastian Stan getting out there.
Mm-hmm.
I would have had him get nominated for A Different Man, which is on Hulu now, and you should watch that great movie. But he got nominated for The Apprentice, which is kind of ballsy for Hollywood, because The Apprentice, where he plays Trump, is a pretty ballsy nomination. We love to see our boy from Fear the Walking Dead, Coleman Domingo, getting nominated and getting his due because, you know, he's wonderful. And who's mad at Timothée, you know, Chalamet? shalalame, as Adam Sandler would say. But yeah,
Okay,
seeing Dune
that's
get
the
up
real
there.
shining star of the Golden Globes right there. Nikki Glaser.
Yeah, I agree. I'm kind of
Yeah.
over Timothy. I'm
Whoa!
sorry. It's the whole like
Whoa!
him and Kylie Jenner thing, and that being like the only thing he's known for these days is just obnoxious to me.
You never know where the grenades are coming from. and they
Yeah,
always
I
that's
know. I can't
crazy.
believe I'm saying that. I loved him so much, but I'm just kind of like, I don't know. He wears a lot of scarves and like I
kid
don't like
can rap.
Kylie Jenner.
The
I
kid
don't
knows
like.
legitimate hip hop knowledge and sports knowledge, and I was just like,
He wears a lot
"Kids down, man." Ascots and scarves.
I
Yeah,
think
that
I
is
like
true.
to go against the grain of what everyone else like. The common folk really just everybody loves him, so I'm just like, give me somebody
No,
else.
you're just. I feel like you just do not enjoy like
The
pop
Kardashians.
culture,
Yeah.
pop culture starlets. Like, if I say Taylor
I can't
Swift or
call
Kardashians
Kylie
or something,
a
you're like,
starlet.
no.
She's a makeup injecting queen. I don't know what else to say.
Influencer.
Yeah.
Influencer.
Her family
yeah.
was
It's just
famous,
the
so she
scarves.
is-
The scarves made me laugh. I don't know what it was. It's just he wears a lot of scarves. It was just that I need
The
to
way
be on
that
the
he looks
shirt.
at the camera,
Janelle
he just
is
takes
to
himself so
scarves
seriously.
in
He's like,
inverse.
ooh, and he like makes these like faces with his scarves, and he's like sticks his. I don't know. I'm just kind of.
Is he like a real life Zoolander?
Kind of. I'm just kind of over like. I just like more down to earth, like really humble, sweet actors these days. Like I'm just kind of like I'm frustrated
Goslings?
with Hollywood sometimes here and there.
You're just like a Gosling fan.
I love Ryan
Mhm.
Gosling. He's great.
Mm-hmm.
I love Ryan Gosling. I love Emily
Mhm.
Blunt.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic lady.
So-
Well, great people that I've actually interviewed and know to be personable and great in person too.
I feel like
See,
the
that- it makes it even
drama.
better.
Two of the only people who are first of all look exactly like you think they look from watching them on screen, and
Yeah.
act exactly like you think they would act from seeing their screen
Aw.
personas. Yeah, and both lovely people. So
I
nothing
feel
bad
like
to
the
say there.
drama,
hear.
the Blake Lively drama with what's his name, Justin, whatever,
yeah.
has just kind of like taken away some of the magic for me of like Hollywood actors. Whenever that like wall gets broken down and you kind of see different sides, like now I'm seeing all these interviews where I don't know who, I have no preference on who, like I know nothing about the case or whatever they're fighting over, but like I have seen interviews where she seems kind of snippy and a little like rude to people interviewing her, and I'm just like, oh man, I didn't realize that she kind of has that type of humor where it's just kind of off-putting and like, I don't know, it's put a bad taste in my mouth with a lot of actors, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I think you all should start to realize these people are not our heroes. I mean, if there's anything
Exactly.
we've learned this week,
Yep.
no matter how big the icon, we can
Mhm.
all be disappointed at different times.
Mhm.
So it's probably best not to crib your hopes and you know,
True.
celebrities and things like that. But now let's keep talking about celebrities and things like that. Now, but to close this out, animated films, it was good to see Inside Out 2, Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Foul, which is fun. You know, anything that Wallace and Gromit do a Cape Fear parody, like, you know, that's
Wallace and Gromit is delightful.
yeah,
Just
low key, like
always.
just like up there, getting up there with the Simpsons for just like an animated concept that just keeps on never failing. Like Wild Robot, I was happy to see, but if I do recommend everybody watch the movie Flow, which is a crazy, beautiful, good movie. Yeah, animated movie, foreign. I do think, and I will close this out to saying, I do think it's a little bit of bullshit how people are playing categories in the Oscars. The fact that Amelia Perez is trying to sweep like all the major categories plus best foreign film is like, nah, bruh. I think you should have to pick a lane, and I think that's something we need to address going forward.
Boom.
Yeah. All right.
Love
So
that.
nothing we
Matt.
got to care about too much. No comic book movies or anything in here that we gotta. Did Marvel even get in here for no visual effects? Nope. Wow, that's crazy. That is crazy that we didn't even get like Marvel production nominations, like visual effects, Alien Romulus, Better Man. Better Man got visual effects. That's crazy. I mean, but they did do a crazy makeup job.
I was gonna say that. I don't know, like that one. I feel like that's deserved. I feel like that's
Dune Part 2. I was surprised Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, but I mean, they do. I mean, by now it is crazy how good they are with that ape technology. And yeah, Wicked. All right. I mean, Wicked. Ooh, that's gonna make some people mad because people saw parts of Wicked and were like, yeah, I could make that a my green screen in my basement too. But you know. All right, that's it. That is Cinema Nation. We've talked about it. That is the Oscars. Nothing to see here for us geeks for the most part. I hope Alien wins. I actually hope Alien wins for visual effects.
That'd
just
be
because
really
I want
cool
to see
if
Alien win an Oscar.
Like that'd be huge, man.
Dope. Yeah, exactly. So I want to see little wins like that out of this. That's pretty much it. So, all right. Okay, so let's get back to our lane. Matt, you want to take the next one?
Yeah, we'll stay in movies. We'll stay in cinema. We're just moving to 2025 cinema. Maybe this one has a shot at next year's Oscars. Who knows? Captain America Brave New World dropped it dropped there was a State Farm commercial, there was a new trailer, a new hey, we're it's happening trailer, and then there was a behind the scenes featurette. Like they're full court press right now for Brave New World. And I gotta tell you, so like this is one of those movies where Anissa is probably even more excited than me, right? She's like Captain America. Chris Evans Captain America is her favorite MCU character. Like it's like other than Scarlet Witch, right? Those are the two. And anything in the Captain America world, she's like all about. So like every trailer that comes out, we have to watch together. I have to wait. We have to watch it together. It's appointment viewing, right? Featurettes, all that stuff. So it's one of those things when like I get more hype for this movie every time I see a new trailer. They're nailing the tone. They even said it in the featurette a little bit of like, we're going for that old school Marvel. Like he even says it. Mackie even says it at one point. And like it feels like that. We'll see if the full movie can deliver. But the trailers and the vibe and all that, they are capturing that Winter Soldier feel. And these trailers do a really good job of that. And the more action, one thing I do hope is that like we're not getting every single action, oh my God moment in the trailer, because some of these are awesome. And I just hope there's more. Like I hope there's more that they're saving for the actual movie as opposed to not seeing all that in the trailer. We'll see. Most Marvel movies don't do that. But we'll see. We'll see if they nail that landing.
If you go back to the earliest teasers, there's definite scenes. I mean, we see Sabra like taking out like entire hallways of people. There is some definite kind of like espionage action element to this. And, I think the renders are looking, I think this is the thing that I'm kind of seeing in this one. This is the first time I've seen a Marvel movie starting just looking and feeling like a Marvel movie again. Like we're seeing epic stuff, sequences, the visual effects look good. We're looking polished, like, everything. And every time a new trailer comes out, it looks a little bit more polished. I think there's entire elements of this that we haven't seen yet. Like there's themes it keeps hinting at, like this kind of duality. There's all these split screens. And this one, we have these weird jumps where people like aren't there and then are there. And then like, what does that all mean? And kind of like the kind of programming that's going on with Isaiah Bradley and what is that all about. So I think there's a lot about the leader, what this plan actually is, and like what the game-changing element of this for the larger franchise could be. I don't think we know anything about that yet, which is kind of which has been a shrewd play by Marvel. But yeah, so I mean I'm also excited for this. I think when we did our hype rankings episode, I think I was like at a modest 7 or 8 because, it's been a minute. And I think we all had Thunderbolts a little bit higher than this, that I was excited for this. But, Thunderbolts and the camaraderie and just getting that acting ensemble together, because this one's going to be dependent more on that like action, visual effects, kind of third act, all of that classic stuff we judge a Marvel movie on. And it'll be the first time we've done that in a long time, actually, because we've taken all these deviations into experimenting with other kinds of movies and all this other stuff. So this is the one where we got to be, we're going to see if they can get back to that. So, which brings up the larger point.
Well, I was going to say, Damon Gray brings up the point, and I've seen this a lot, of like Deadpool 3 kind of being held up as that was the return, and I don't look at it that way because that movie was going to do well regardless of when it came out. That movie is like an outlier to me. That movie was much about Hugh Jackman coming back, having Ryan Reynolds and Deadpool be a part of the MCU at all. I don't look at that as a return. I look at that as like, that was a really cool event. That was a crossover event, as it were. And then we're back to, hey, we got to fix the actual ship. And so that's what I look at that as, more than, hey, that was the, hey, we're back in action type thing.
I don't agree with that assessment.
Oh, you got it in there.
No one else has to look at it that way.
No, that's an Easter egg. This was from dinner last night. She said she was going to get this in to the podcast today. So,
but I don't. I will say, like, I kind of think, I don't know where I stand on this, but I do like that in Wolverine and X-Men, or sorry, Deadpool, that they talked about like how the multiverse thing really did not land, and like they pretty much like roasted themselves. So I don't know if you want to take that as the restart. I'll be on team restart.
I actually wrote an article this week that says something that I don't agree with either of your assessments. I wrote an article that says Daredevil Born Again is actually the real measuring point, because it's quite literally the project where in the middle of it, they were like, get this old stuff out and we're going to do this over with the new marching order.
Yeah, that's a great point.
We titled this episode, is this going to be a box office bomb? Because, projections for, there were several reports that came out this week. I think Matt indicated that one is about the budget of this movie getting upwards towards 200 million, 180 million, I think it is.
Yeah.
And the opening projections are, okay, not great. Like maybe 95 million, I think, is the ceiling for where it's opening. And so, and there's also like a lot of, not to get into, political nation, but like there's also a lot of other factors to this, not to bring up the elephant quietly just smoking in the corner of the room, but like, there is still the Marvel has traditionally sometimes had trouble getting these minority character films to open big particularly worldwide. This is an America-centric film led by an African-American actor who this has like a lot of question marks over it about like what the international play, because we're still in a world where, Star Wars, if we all remember, over in China, they're airbrushing out John Boyega, you know what I mean, from the poster. So it is an international world. I mean, and it's not just, a black thing. It's, Simu Liu can't get a Shang-Chi movie open in China because he's, dared to say things over time, about the world or his views and things. So there's question marks hanging over this one. That's a big one, kind of the whole concept of launching this Captain America. Will we get another will it open to other demographics that want to come and see this and support it? This is also, whether we want to admit it or not, despite reshoots and obvious efforts to pump up the production values, this is the technically last project from like the Chapek era. This and Thunderbolts are still carrying fumes of that era. They are the last two films that are coming from that. So, they are kind of halfway kids, but because they were finished under this new era, but it remains to be seen if we still get some residual, lack of full MCU quality in that. So it'll be interesting to see. I'm hoping for the best because I think Anthony Mackie deserves it. And I think this film has been one of the better marketed Marvel films I've seen in a long time. Like Matt said, every trailer has been hitting that pulse pounding kind of nail like you haven't felt since Winter. Like you haven't felt since that one trailer where you saw Sam Jackson's SUV flip and then you saw Winter Soldier come strolling in slow-mo and heard that voiceover from Black Widow, like they call him the Winter Soldier. And we were all like, oh, like, there is an element to this. So I'm psyched, and I'm you know what? I'm happy that we're just getting started early because I don't want to wait this year. Let's get into it. Like, this is coming up. We're weeks away. Like, let's get this party started. Then go into Daredevil, then Thunderbolts. I want it all. More content.
Get this party started.
Let's go.
I think I had an aneurysm. Go ahead. Somebody else talk.
Do you guys think that they've released too much? Like too many trailers and teasers and
I think it's a trick. I think they've shown us like what they want to show us. Like we still haven't, like I said, I think we don't even know the amount we have and we don't know yet. Like, what is the plan? Like, what is the bad guy's plot in this?
Yeah, I have no idea.
Yeah. Also, I think
it's a high stakes. Yeah, it's a high stakes swings because with a villain like the leader, like it has to be some kind of. Whenever you're working with like an evil super genius, a Lex Luthor or the leader, it is always a big swing because you have to have something that's sophisticated enough for this brilliant villain to be pulling all these strings, manipulating all these factors, but still something the audience can recognize, which is the Batman versus Superman dilemma. Because when you sit down and actually watch like the extended edition and kind of map it all out, you're like, oh, wow. Like, yeah, Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor was manipulating geopolitical factors and all this other stuff to make these two heroes into something, to get out of sorts and fight each other and nearly kill each other. But that's, you need to like actually have like a notepad and be like writing all of this down and keeping track of it, because Zack Snyder was like, well, he's a super genius, so let's do a whole super genius plan. And everybody was like, what? Like, what is happening in this movie? So we'll have to see if Marvel can pull that off better.
Yeah. And this is Damon brings up a good point. This is in comparison to last year, there's gonna be so much Marvel product this year. It's kind of insane. Also, so Damon brought up Spider-Man, and I know I had previously kind of made a remark about that. Like, I was not excited about that thing at all. I think it could come and go. I rewatched the trailer, and this is right here is the power of kids. All right. I rewatched the trailer with my daughter, and because it just came on. It came on after Captain America trailer. And she was like, oh, Spider-Man, right? And so then we're like, okay, let's watch it. Let's just see. I was curious. And then that which, by the way, the soundtrack to that is actually great. It's a great soundtrack. So I went, okay. So then we watched it, and she's like giggling. Oh, and she likes it when he says woohoo, and she likes she's laughing at all the Peter Parker-y moments, and then we're watching it together, and the action looks kind of cool, right? And he's making all these jokes. And then we get to the end. She wanted to rewatch it 2 more times, and I went, oh, dang it. I think I'm actually kind of in on this a little bit. And so I have to eat crow on outright dismissing it. I still don't love the animation. I still don't love certain things. And I'm really okay on another like Spider-Man, like early years Spider-Man story. However, I am going to give it a shot. And that's because Ember was all about it and kind of won me over too. So I got to apologize for my complete dismissing of the show. I am going to give it a shot. There you go.
I mean, I get it. There were 0 helmets in that, I think. So like,
there was none.
No helmets, buddy. No helmets. No. Honestly, I saw the trailer. I've been thinking about it since then, and I kind of wish like more of the multiverse saga had been this. Like, I wish it had just been, we come from Endgame and something happened. We don't know, but like we just started to get almost like a Marvel, one of those like Age of Apocalypse events where all of these franchises just were relaunched like differently. Like, we just got a new Spider-Man story that's in this other universe, and we were like, oh, okay. Like, we should have done more of that. Like, we should have just done like a whole new Captain America or a whole new this or a whole new that, and then the overarching mystery would have been, how did we get this into these messed up universes, or like what's going on, or how do they all come together as a story in Secret Wars? Like, that'd have been cool. Yeah. So I'm in for Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, and we will talk about it because it premieres next week. So do you think, you guys, let's just close out this segment. Do you guys think Captain America Brave New World will open and kind of do what a Marvel movie should do? How confident are you? confidence meter.
I mean, I'm more confident in this than many other things that have released in the past. So I'm going to give it like an 8.5 confidence
All right.
meter out of 10.
What did Winter Soldier end up making total? Do we
Oh,
know?
well, I don't think it's going to do what Winter Soldier did.
Oh,
Well, I think that's
We'll
actually
see.
the barometer that it needs to be held up to, because it
that's
can't
what
be held up to
that's
Civil War.
actually our comic book article says it's on track to be pretty much on par with Winter Soldier.
Wow.
Because if you look at it, Winter Soldier came out phase 2, right?
Yeah,
I
and
think that's
Winter Soldier
actually-
wasn't Winter Soldier at first.
right. So
yeah.
it's still a Captain America movie, and Captain America movies outside of Civil War, again, an outlier because it was an Avengers movie, score like lower a little bit lower as far as box office.
Winter
Comparative
Soldier,
to Iron Man.
not to interrupt you, but Winter Soldier was similarly budgeted at about a little under 180 million. It went on to make 714 million worldwide.
I think 7, 8 is where I'm putting this. I don't necessarily think it's $1 billion. I would love to see it hit $1 billion, but I think a lot of Marvel's solo movies that aren't these kind of, that don't bring in all these other crazy characters and kind of make it more of an event film, I think that's where they end up lying, like, and high, like low 9s. Again, like, I think the $1 billion club is a lot of like Spider-Man No Way Home. And like, Spider-Man is also just kind of an outlier on his own, because Spider-Man is their most popular character. But still, like, all of these other movies that score bigger typically are sequels in a long-running franchise. This is a sequel in the fact that it's the 4th Captain America movie, but this is Sam Wilson's first. So, like, I think you have to kind of judge it by Winter Soldier more than a lot of these other movies.
Well,
So
I
if
can
it wasn't there, I'd be
confirm
happy.
in the comments that Zach G over on YouTube in the comments is exactly right. Winter Soldier made 714 million. Its opening weekend gross was 95 million, including 10 million in Thursday night previews. So Brave New World is on track to match that almost exactly.
I'd be happy with that.
Yeah, but then again, like, I think people forget that, like, it began to climb afterwards.
Yeah.
People heard, because people were burned by that first Captain America movie. That was more divisive. People weren't necessarily all in on Chris Evans as Steve Rogers. I think the Avengers kind of improved that a little bit, but he wasn't sold as a solo film character quite yet. It was people who were loyal to the franchise, went to see Winter Soldier and knew who the Winter Soldier was, went to see that movie. And then the response started to be such buzz about how awesome it was that it was the Marvel movie. It was when they mastered the genre blending thing. It was right about then, because that began to appeal to mainstream people who were just looking for a spy action movie. And we're like, oh, I know enough about Marvel at this point to get in on this. So it kind of hit that sweet spot. It also did the smart thing of bringing in like the Robert Redfords. And so this movie's doing the same thing with a Harrison Ford, the Giancarlo Esposito. These are people like Harrison Ford's a big movie box office, for the older generation. Giancarlo is that actor that genre kids know from, Breaking Bads and Star Warses and all that. So, yeah, I think there's a good chance this could do it. And I think they're betting. I mean, they released this in Black History Month, not like February, not April. We see you, Marvel. We know what you're doing. Like, they're hoping for that Black Panther repeat, that it becomes like a cultural phenomenon, that there's going to be like, that people of color are going to be like, oh, now we have a Captain America of color. This is the time to go support that and get that kind of resurgence. And we'll see. I mean, awesome. It could happen.
If it happens.
Yeah. Yeah. Damon's falling apart because there's too much going on in this movie. And I'm interested to see what happens when word of mouth, because I think they're hiding, again, Winter Soldier, we always focus on, but we never, we forget that the real trick of that movie wasn't the Winter Soldier part. It was completely changing everything by revealing that Hydra was actually infiltrating all the major organizations of the MCU. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. went crazy right after that. Like, it was a massive franchise shift. That was the trick of that movie. So I want to know what the trick of this movie is, and when it happens, and all the developments that happen in it, from a Red Hulk to adamantium to whatever the leader's planning to whatever the outcome is after this. I want to see if that buzz begins to get people feeling like the FOMO again of Marvel FOMO. Like, I can't miss out on this chapter. I have to know what's happening in this part of the story and where it's going to go next. Because if you don't do this, Thunderbolts ain't going to be hitting the way it needs to be. So you kind of got to do both. So we'll see what happens when that gets bubbling. Oh, I'm excited, guys.
Yay.
Just talk about this kind of stuff with you again. It's been a minute.
Well, let's also get excited about some DC content.
Yeah.
So I'll take it from here. James Gunn reveals first look at Millie Alcock's Supergirl. I think it's really good to see him excited about something. Obviously he's excited about everything, but but I love that it's Supergirl. We saw the first image. This is a little picture that he put up of Supergirl, Millie, chilling in her behind the scenes chair, director's chair, on set. And this is from one of my favorite scenes in the actual comic when she's at the bar. I believe this looks like
intergalactic bar.
Yeah.
I was excited too.
Yeah, I even just love like the swoop of the hair. I'm really breaking it on down, but like it's such an homage to like the actual like slide of like the image that they have of her sitting at the bar with her hair to the side from the actual comic. So I think it's really good. He says that she's doing a spectacular job. It's I don't know. I'm very optimistic about this. I feel like even just the lighting looks perfect. It mirrors the comics so perfectly. So what are you guys thinking about this tweet? How's it make you feel?
To answer the Distance Nerding, shout out to Distance Nerding podcast in the comments. Yeah, we're talking about this is the beginning of filming on Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, the next DCU movie that's in production with Craig Gillespie, who directed like Lars and the Real Girl, I, Tonya, and some other stuff, who doing it. And I'm really excited for this movie. I think this is going to be a movie that's unlike like Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, the comic, that kind of catches you by surprise by how it's unlike anything you think it is, and how this will be, because that's like Craig Gillespie's bread and butter. Is this dude never quite makes the movie you think he's going to make. And he has this just idiosyncratic. Oh, he did the Fright Night remake as well, which was, pretty solid remake, all things considered. Cruella, I, Tonya, Lars, and the Real Girl. So his style is so unique and so like signature. It's hard to talk about him because there's nothing to really say about his movies. They're just very much unique, but he puts together these crazy stories about these like larger than life, largely female when I think about it, characters. And yeah, they're always so kind of kinetic, entertaining, tragically funny. Like it's good stuff. So him being at the helm of this and just seeing that, like you said, the sets and everything implied from like the coloring and just the set design and seeing kind of like Millie Alcock, I think this is going to be crazy. I think when I think about the comic, just seeing that first issue of a drunken Kara on her birthday, and this being the opening act to this movie, like her trying to help solve this problem while she's wasted and dealing with all the things of her birthday, like this is going to be fun. I'm really excited for this.
Just you describing Gillespie's work and looking at like Damon of like, if they 1-for-1 with the Tom King book, I can't think of a better director to direct a Tom King story. Like, I feel like I actually think that's such a unique combo that like I wouldn't have dreamt up in my brain. I would have not like gone, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense. But seeing those linked, I just go, man, I think that's such a good fit for Tom King's style of storytelling, especially in Woman of Tomorrow, which when we did our hype rankings, like I'm super hyped for Superman, right? No pun intended there. I think I would think I was at a 9. I think I was at a 9 for Superman when we did those. And because like that's coming this year, right? So like it's right around the corner. If I were to rank which DC movies I was hyped for, Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow would be higher than Superman. And it's just because I love that story that much. Like, that story is phenomenal. So the fact that like we're seeing this play out, and it's just, I'm so excited for that movie. I think that movie's going to just hit. I have high hopes. So, please don't disappoint me. But I have super high hopes.
Yeah, you're muted.
And you're muted. I love that. I love this. No, I mean, I could go in circles talking about. I'm just looking over artwork from Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, and just comparing it, and just the scenes of the bar scene. Yeah, it's pretty nuts, and I'm super excited. Janelle, you want to close us out on that part?
I mean, it's gonna be great. Are we talking about what is the Clayface Ain't Dead?
Oh, sorry, I forgot to put a link in there. My bad. That's
oh my gosh. Okay.
It was a big story that's kind of even getting bigger right now that we just posted up this morning. So this is kind of like not breaking news.
Is this Creature Commandos that we're talking
Yes,
about?
James Gunn. I'm going to put the link in here now.
I was like, oh, see it.
Yeah. So James Gunn, basically, one of the big questions since Creature Commandos ended, and spoilers, we're about to talk about the middle of Creature Commandos right now, is that one of the middle episodes had Rick Flag and Eric Frankenstein discover that the plot was Circe kind of replacing this prominent doctor with Clayface. And they have a fight with Clayface, and it seems like Clayface gets electrocuted to death and is just left in a muddy pile on the floor, where Amanda Waller and John, Agonamos, whatever his name is, find him later. And so people were hella confused because there's a Clayface movie being made by Mike Flanagan, the director of Dr. Sleep, Midnight Mass, House of Haunted Hill, or Haunting of Hill House. And so people were like, wait. Nerds are like, continuity. How are we making a Clayface movie? Is this a prequel to when is Creature Commandos the end of his story? Isn't that kind of weird? And so Gunn went up and he posted a tweet that basically did the Mark Twain quote and played on it and saying, like, the reports of Clayface's death have been greatly exaggerated. Then he added the questionable addition of he's quite mushy, though.
I love it. That's so funny.
I hate that word. It's up there with moist for like weird words. I mean, but ironically, I say that, and Bruno Mars and Sexy Red are going to turn this whole thing into a chart-topping hit. You look that up on your own time. I'm not gonna do that here. This ain't Music Nation. But it's ironic that I'm saying this on the day that Bruno Mars and Sexy Red are dropping a track that pretty much plays on that weird word magic. All right, so that's what it is. Clayface ain't dead.
Nice. That's great news. I'm very happy about that. We're also going to touch really quickly on the new season of Harley Quinn. And this has been so much fun already. I'm so excited. We are getting out of Gotham and heading over
Metropolis.
Yes, Metropolis is we think it's spectacular and wonderful, but there are a lot of secrets and a lot of things going on that have not revealed themselves yet. So they're building quite a lovely, suspenseful feeling within me going, okay, oh, there's Frank. Oh my gosh, I can't wait for more Frank. We got to see Frank's origin story.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Harley and Ivy are just so in love and they're adorable. And there's a lot going on, but it is really fun. I thought I would be kind of like, okay, guys, you're trying to make this happen by moving us over to Metropolis. Like, why are we leaving Gotham? Like, I'm very, very happy with where it's going so far. We're 2 episodes in. Have you guys been watching?
I did. Last season was funny with the Bat Family arc and doing that whole thing. So, we have done Gotham to death, like quite literally.
Yeah.
And so kind of moving over to Metropolis was funny. Just seeing, I watched a lot in the middle of the night last night. So I'm kind of like discombobulated, after several margs and trying to fit in planning this show and watching all this. But yeah, there were this was a show where the funny little asides about like Superman feeling kind of left out because the Lex bots are doing like all like there's a little AI Superman jokes in there. Like it's funny. And I just think at this point, this show is working because they are just double, triple, quadrupling down on how crazy this is and just actually making this an entire lore universe of its own, where things are developing like Bane's a dad now, and things carry over from other seasons, and the characters are growing and developing, and it's in this weird kind of way, but it's still, batshit crazy on average. It's funny. Like, this show is going to be, everything feels weird because the DCU is coming up, and all of this is beginning to feel like old world or extraneous or stuff. But like, Harley Quinn will forever be like this own pocket universe of absurdity that we can visit in comic books and other things, I'm sure, later on. But it is funny to see. I was immediately pleased to hear my girl Aisha Tyler show up in and there's never a point where I don't hear her voice in anything and I'm just like not happy. Lana! Now that Archer's over, getting my Aisha Tyler animation fix is good. And so, and just seeing, this show's other magic is, as moving around, that other characters from the DC universe are going to get skewered, and that's fun. That's fun to see. And so by going to Metropolis, there's a whole other set of characters like Brainiac and Superman and Lois Lane, and jokes about Lois Lane's network and stuff like that. Just nuts. But like you said, the core thing about Harley and Ivy is good. And the show can get serious. Like, that Frank origin episode is pretty nuts about toxic relationships and kind of like, how people could be sociopaths and your partner can be like a crazy sociopath and just do nut stuff. And that was like, it was pretty heavy-handed episode for, what it was tackling.
There's like 2 cliffhangers on the second episode that I'm just like chomping at the bit to see what's going to happen.
Yeah. They can play with that stuff when they need to. I mean, geez, just the cliffhanger from last season.
Oh my gosh.
It's just like,
I know, I'm still waiting for him. I'm like, where's Nightwing? Where is he?
And like, for me, the magic of this show is, I mean, obviously Kaylee's work as Harley is just phenomenal, and the Poison Ivy relationship is great. But I love this show's supporting cast. Like, anytime Bane shows up, anytime King Shark shows up, those characters are just so. Bane is my favorite. Okay, like,
oh my
Bane,
gosh,
this show has just. Like, everybody tries to skewer Bane, but this show has just done it like you said, every time he shows up, no matter what he's going to say, it is like an entire comedy act in itself. Like, it's just
he's so good. He's wonderful. Like, I laugh every time he's just on screen. Doesn't even matter what he's doing, right? But Clayface, like, they've developed such a great supporting cast that you could literally, it doesn't matter. That's the magic of the show to me, is that if you get that core group, you can put them in Star City, you can put them in Central City, you can put them, Themyscira, like, you can put them wherever. Actually, that's a great idea. They should totally do a season there. If they're making the rounds, but like, you could put them anywhere, and it doesn't, like, hilarity will ensue just by the nature of like who they are, who they develop these characters to be, and their banter between each other is just, I mean, that stuff carried over to the Kite Man show. It doesn't matter where you put them, what you surround them with. It's just, they're fantastic. So this show is delightful.
And for all its zaniness, it is really smart, and it actually nails, like, really kernels of truth. Like, the opening of this season, the whole thing, I was busting out laughing as somebody who's been in like a 20-year relationship with the whole sequence we're watching now about being in a rut as a couple and just staying inside and just
matching
outfits and all that. I was like, oh,
stains all over
them, man. I was like, you guys are being a little mean. Stop it. Like, you don't have to make fun of us. Like, no, it's funny. So it does. I mean, it nails actual, truthful kind of comedy for all its zaniness. So I think that's our endorsement of Harley Quinn. All right, we're going to go. When we come back, we're going to start to get into the deeper geeker section of the show. We got to talk about, do a little TV check-in, talk about some comics, and then Matt has a whole agenda he's got to get off. So let's get to it. All right. On the other side of our TV check-in is Severance season 2. Am I the only one up on this right now? Is it just me? Just me?
I have not watched the first season, and now that all I hear is Severance. That's all I hear about. So I need to go and watch that season before I get to season 2. But yeah.
Yeah,
Janelle, are you still-
I need to get up on season 2. I started watching the first episode of season 2 and I was so freaking confused and I could not remember anything that I
Oh, you
feel
got to
like
rewatch season 1.
I
Yeah,
think I
you've
have to
got
binge season 1. Yeah.
you've got to. It's a must.
It's just been too long between
3 years.
seasons.
What? Like,
Yeah.
you got to rewatch season 1. Plus, you pick out so much more about the show when you watch it again. You're like, oh, okay. Like, it is funny how much they put in your face the whole time. But all right, so
Okay.
we won't take it too long. I will say, I love the kind of the 2 episodes of the second season. The first one is all about inside. The second one is mostly about outside. And so they're doing the thing again where we're only getting parts of the picture. And the interesting thing about the show is we'll be kind of seeing them come together again. Shout out to Distance Nerding once again. I haven't started the Night Agent season 2. That's another one that like came and went on Netflix. Like I loved it when it was here, but then I was like, wait, I saw it pop back up again. And I was just like, wait a minute, like this show is a thing. So I'll be press and play on that. That'll be my binge this afternoon. I'm going to be jumping into the Night Agent season 2 as well, because like I said, that was one, I feel like that came and went like a couple of years ago when we were just like, oh, that was fun. That was actually weirdly more enjoyable than we thought as a spy thriller. And then, oh yeah, that's when we were gonna remember, guys, our spy thriller phase where we were just like all Jones, and we are like anything that was a spy thriller, like yeah, that's pretty good. That's a spy thriller. Oh, what's that? Citadel? It was all right. It was a pretty good spy thriller. We love those. So yeah, Night Agent season 2, we're gonna be checking out. But Severance season 2's first 2 episodes are great, and like I said, the second episode, by showing us first only the inside of the premiere and then the outside in the second episode, has already created great levels of mystery and stuff that I can't wait to get back into. So yeah, this show is unique, crazy, one of a kind, and just more proof. We have a lot of write-ups on the site about Apple TV Plus, which is kind of throwing discounts out there and really trying to build hype, as it should, because it has some of the best programming like out there for TV right now. Silo, For All Mankind, Ted Lasso, Severance. We could even go deeper, like older, The Morning Show, Servant.
Yeah, the morning show is good.
Like, yeah, it has some of the best of everything. So check that out. Check out our write-ups. All right, let's talk comics then, so we can all talk. Where are we at? Absolute rankings, absolute DC. Is everybody still keeping their rankings where they are?
I'm actually kind of bummed that I've been like so into Absolute Superman and Absolute Batman, because for me, Wonder Woman just isn't, I'm not enjoying it as much because of how much I've enjoyed the other 2. I know. And it's really good, but I just can't seem to like, I don't know. I'm just not as into it. The story and everything.
Yeah,
I think I still like Batman the best, and I still think Superman, the kind of epicness of Jason Aaron's action and kind of lore building, he's just like one of the most unequaled at that. But like what Kelly Thompson is doing, I think is low key the most intriguing story for me about Wonder Woman, and I think she's taking more time and precision, like about how she's like letting out information and what she's showing us and like what we're getting, the sketches of Diana. And for me, it's kind of the most intriguing character dynamic right now. Like I get Bruce's, that's still very much Batman-y, Superman's still kind of Superman, but this idea that Diana is still Diana with the compassion, the love, the care, but is also like a dark magic sorceress is kind of getting... You can see now, and there's like this weird aside in this issue with just a scene with Circe and the goddess, which one, Hecate, I think, who keeps showing up in this, who is like, if you do your research, is the goddess of like darkness and like magic and mysticism and all this stuff. And this kind of prophecy of doom hanging over Diana is very interesting now. And it's like, yeah, Diana's one part loving, heroine, Amazon girl that we all know, but like also yeah, sorceress who's using blood magic, like actual blood magic, to heal herself. So, and riding a skeletal Pegasus. So there is this element of supernatural occult darkness that I feel like inevitably has to be a collision course of some sort. Like this is like one of those internal collision courses where it's like, who are you? Are you like the Hell Princess, or is there something else you're going to be? And that's interesting to me. The goddess of hot topic. This is nerdy. Y'all are stupid.
Also shout out to Ron. Yes, I cannot wait for Absolute Green Lantern. That book cannot get here soon enough. And Absolute Martian Manhunter looks really good too.
I'm excited. I want to see what that's about. That's gonna be crazy.
I think my rankings keep shifting. They've shifted a lot. Because I think Kofi kind of hit it there, because so at one point in time, Wonder Woman was my number one, and then the sheer amount of world building and the depth at which he went in on Krypton and the parents and everything moved Superman to number one for me, because Superman is just like there's so much going on there that really shakes up who the character is moving forward. But we actually haven't seen a ton of that. We've only had that glimpse in the first issue, right? And yes, in the second issue, it was just mostly about like him and Lois. But like really, we're still kind of getting a feel for like who that Superman is in the present. And there's so much work being done on Krypton and everything there. To me, the strongest character, like the one who stands apart from everybody else in the Absolute Universe so far, is Diana. There's not even a contest for me. Like as a character, the depth at which Diana has already been established, as well as her supporting cast, is like immense. They take Etta has always been kind of this like semi-important character at different times, but a lot of times kind of plays a kind of a backseat role, or is kind of some government liaison or something like that. They've taken her and like her and then Gia and made them like a fundamental part now of this kind of inner circle. They're going to do the same thing with Barbara. You can already kind of see how they're going to do that with her. Steve Trevor, the amount of work that has gone into like making that dynamic actually mean something, both physically because of the literal like, hey, I gave my arm so you could like return to the land of the living, and also just like their appreciation for each other without going into like a romance and stuff is immense. So like the work that like Diana is a fully kind of fleshed out person in this, even the dynamic with her and her mom, like there's just so much. That character's so rich already, and we're only 4 issues in. And Superman and Batman still feels like Batman. Bruce Wayne still feels like Bruce Wayne. Mm-hmm. It's everything else around him that has changed. Mm-hmm. Superman, we're still kind of trying to get a beat on who that current Clark is, as opposed to everything that's being done in the past. So like night and day, to me, the character that stands out the most is Diana. The book is now number 2 because Batman is my third. Batman is great. They're all great. By the way, this is we're
so
like,
good.
We're like splitting hairs here. Okay.
Yeah,
they're all
really
fantastic. None of them, like, this is a very much a compliment to just how good they all are, that we're kind of lining them up this way. But yeah, like it's, to me, this book just is so like, this is a book that I always actually end up reading twice because I miss stuff the first time, little character moments and things. So yeah, super. And again, by the next issue, this could flip flop. Wonder Woman could be back to number 1, and Superman could be number 2. That's how close those are. But I just adore this book. And then look, we got we actually have, by the way, this is a perfect spot to tease this. Probably later today, our interview with Kelly Thompson and Hayden Sherman will go live, talking all about this issue, where we dive into everything, including that ginormous sword, the crazy fight scenes that happen in this, all the edit stuff. So yeah, I just adore this book.
All right. Wow. Okay. There you go. Boom. What about Ultimate Spider-Man? And man, wow. I think I put it in the show notes, but they're making this Craven movie look crazier by the day.
How did they mess it up so bad?
Yeah, how do you mess up Craven so bad
Oh
when a movie, when like we've had a video game and now a comic both reinvent a character and be like, wow, this is awesome. You know, this is cool. Yeah, this version of Craven is nuts, like, and it's scary, and you know, everything. It's another example of Marvel's Ultimate Universe kind of flipping things around and just tweaking things enough to make it really interesting all over again, like this whole Spider-Man book has done.
Yeah, I don't I've seen sometimes where like people are like, I don't this book doesn't do it for me. I don't like this book, and I'm like, there are a few times I go, how? Because you know, different strokes for different folks, right? Everyone doesn't like stuff. I get it. I'm the king of that, right? I don't like things that everyone loves. I totally understand it. But there's just some books that I go like, really? Like what? Like I can't read this issue and not go and we're gonna get into full spoilers here for this issue, by the way, because I'm about to go on a little bit of a thing here that kind of talks about all that. So sorry, but like the time jump, huge in and of itself. If that was the only thing that this issue did, that would be big enough. The fact that you've done it, 2 months. I mean, you've totally shaken up the dynamic of the family, of Peter and Harry, of now that this, you know, alien android AI has been here, and the whole conversation with just him and the son is fantastic. Okay, it's weird. Why do you keep doing that? It's weird. And I know, and like and also, by the way, treating a younger character as intelligent as they should be treated, like that conversation, I think is great. I think that conversation in a lot of people's hands would have not been as good. And Hickman plays that like supremely well. Like, kids are intelligent. There's a lot of times that kids' intelligence gets sold as like they're dumb and don't understand things. That couldn't be further from the truth for me. So like, I love that there's that level of sophistication to that discussion. And then we move to the Craven stuff. The Craven stuff could be its own entire issue, and that would be huge in and of itself. And we get all that. And then also just the fact that like we're taking all the right notes from books like Craven's Last Hunt, and just finding ways to twist them. And even the interactions between the villains, the Mysterio Craven conversations, the Mole Man stuff. There's just, my God, this book kicks. I don't understand people that don't.
I think that like Hickman is so good at just throwing Marvel lore, like all of it, in one of those like lottery balls, and just being like, okay, and just doing like a Mad Libs, like, okay, it's the Sinister Six with Mole Man who controls the Savage Land. Like, all of this is Marvel lore, but none of it has been put together this way, right? Like, we know Sinister Six, but Mole Man has nothing to do with that. We know the Savage Land, but Mole Man has, that's Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, and X-Men lore just being mixed over each other. And it works so well so that, like, yeah, Craven wants to hunt Harry and Peter. So he goes to his Sinister Six buddy, Mole Man, is like, take me down to your Savage Land place. And like, let's dump these fools in here so I can hunt them and hunt them and fight dinosaurs. And you're like, this is all such crazy. Like, that sentence sounds crazy when you say it out loud. But yeah, like, it really does. It's so many Marvel things colliding. But in this story, it's not only makes sense, but feels so compelling. And it's playing on your knowledge of Marvel. Like, as soon as they land there, you're like, oh, Harry and Peter are really screwed. Like, that's the Savage Land. We know. And there's just like a casual picture of a Sauron like hanging out. And you're like, oh, we know what that means. And already you're excited for the next issue. You're like, that's going to be epic. Them trying to survive in the Savage Land while Craven the Hunter's after them is bananas. Like, that's nuts work. But again, could be its own thing. But this book is, what's so good about it is handling all of Spider-Man's world. So yeah, there's this, what they're doing with the black suit and that whole version of that lore is amazing. Like, now it's his son in the suit, and like, yeah, and it's an AI that's trying to be sympathetic and fill in for Peter when it's not there. And the fact that Peter, like, you know, I love how information gets revealed in these books. Like, we didn't do scenes of Peter like talking to the AI and doing all that. We find out he's gone in the Christmas issue. And then in this issue, it's like, oh yeah, Peter has naturally did all the things you think a dad would do to be like, if something happens to me, Like, this is what you do, and like you take care of the family and do that. And the Mary Jane conversation, like you said, there's just conversations in this that are obviously so obvious as nerds. We'd be like, but isn't that he nails, like, he knocks off all the creepy parts. He's just like,
Yeah, I know.
and like with a kid who's just doesn't want to ask the question, is just like, look, AI suit, are you banging my mom without saying that? Like, you're not, with my mom, right? And he's like, oh no, like, I got 3 rules, like, protect you guys at all costs, or no, don't touch Mary Jane, protect you guys at all costs, don't touch Mary Jane. Like, yeah.
Yeah, it's 1 and 3.
It's 1 and 3. Yeah, rule 1 and 3, don't touch my wife. Like, yeah. Is great. And just him having to have that, and like you said, it's hilarious and it's informational, and it's kind of like that weird trivia that, as nerds we always do, like at lunch tables, like, yeah, but what if he's impersonating Peter, what happens when and so yeah, it is just well done. And in playing with all that Marvel lore, like Ultimate Spider-Man is just crazy bananas example of how you do these kind of alt universe launches and balance familiar and new at the same time.
Yeah. It's fantastic. So yes, I think I saw it in here where it was like,
I would say it's spectacular.
Oh, well done. That's fair. I would say it's amazing. It doesn't hit as well as spectacular. So that's lame.
It's going to be also kind of crazy if his son gets like some weird crush on Black Cat, and that's the version of that we get.
Okay, so that is my one. It's not a critique even, but it's like, okay, I get the cliffhanger. It's great. We've done this already once before. Can we actually do something with Black Cat next time, please? Instead of just having her appear in like one page
or on a cover.
They made such a big deal last time. Oh, it's the debut of Black Cat, and she's literally in like 2 panels, and she's just standing there in the background while another character talks. And then in this one, she just shows up in the last 2 panels and is like, I'm Black Cat. It's like, that's great. Can you do something, please, for the love of Lord? That'd be awesome if we can.
But it's going to be a fun issue if you have an issue with like young teenage boy crushing on older girl, trying not to in the suit, trying not to let her know that he's just a teenage boy, trying to like act like a man, be like, hey, yeah. I mean, that's like one of my favorite parts of Into the Spider-Verse is the whole Miles trying to learn how to talk to girls thing is like hilarious, and the shoulder touch and all that. Like,
there's lots of like great opportunity there. So I do hope they take advantage. Like, it's great, and I'm all about. I love Black Cat.
Oh,
Nell's a big Black Cat fan too, right? So like, we want to see more of her. Let's do that now.
Damon Gray says we don't even have to worry about those weird Transformers 4 Romeo and Juliet laws that they're the same age. Like, yeah, we can. That this might be just like a little teenage love story, which would be cute.
No, that'd be
And
awesome.
then when Peter eventually gets back and find that situation, that'll be hilarious. I already love this book so much. All right, Matt, that's it. We've done it. We've done the thing. It is time. We have extra time for you to get into the deep, dark recesses of Matt's agenda. Janelle, if you have to bounce
before I do that,
I will. And I freaking love this conversation. So I'll be lurking and hanging out with all of you in the chat.
All right. Thanks, Janelle.
All right. Thank you.
Have a good weekend. And all right, Matt, take it away, buddy.
We are going to get We Are Yesterday. Feels like a song, but it's actually a DC crossover event, and it's actually the first DC All-In crossover. Got announced yesterday. Ironically, I didn't even plan that, but it got announced then, and so we got to talk about it. We've been talking a lot about Justice League Unlimited, Superman, Batman, World's Finest. Absolute power. Mark Waid has done so much over the past year, and to have him kind of at the helm of the first DC All-In crossover also feels very fitting. Also makes me feel very confident about it, because it's going to be essentially a 3-part crossover taking place between World's Finest, Justice League Unlimited, and then there will be the third final chapter will be a special World's Finest 2025 annual book. And Wade will be joined by a host of co-writers and artists to kind of pull this whole kind of mini event off that will directly tie to some of the things that we saw. Look, I mean, we haven't actually touched on a lot of the Death of Darkseid angles to what happened in the All In special outside of New Gods, which is fantastic, by the way. You should totally read New Gods. But like outside of there, we haven't really dealt with that a lot, and kind of the ramifications, and all of that will come to play in this 3-part crossover. There will also be big Legion of Doom stuff in this, kind of a, you know, we were talking about it earlier, like this villainous group really starting to show like what their massive scheme has been. We're also going to get big reveals for Inferno, which if you've been reading Justice League Unlimited, you know how like, you know, lethal they have been. We're going to get big reveals there about like who they are and some of the identities there. So a lot of big things happening in this 3-part crossover. I'm very excited that Wade is, you know, kind of steering the ship. I have loved what they've been doing here, so I'm excited. The We Are Yesterday is interesting as far as it is not like a title that like kind of gives me a lot of clues as far as like what that really has to do with like some of the other bigger things here that we're tackling. But I'm intrigued. You know, Kofi, are you ready for the first?
It just reminds me, what was that like song from a movie? It's like Never Too Late for Yesterday. What movie is that? Somebody's writing that crazy song. Oh man. Anyway, yeah, I mean, I've been loving everything that they're doing in All In. I think we've been focused on Absolute so much because it is just so kind of like revolutionary and crazy. But yeah, All In has been like a really good, solid relaunch of the DC concept, and especially Justice League Unlimited. And it's interesting to see where they're going. I think it's interesting to see Gorilla Grodd kind of making a comeback, as we're getting teases of him also on the DCU front with James Gunn's universe. So, yeah, I think this is going to be kind of cool. I do have some questions about like the world finest of it all. Some of them are being expressed in the comments, but I think that, yeah, this was like a fun, exciting kind of first event. Some of the artwork has me asking questions already about like Lex Luthor and like what's going on there. And because like last we left Lex, he's still not Lex, right? He's still just kind of memory wiped from his last showdown with Brainiac.
Coming around, right? We're starting to see flashes. Starting to see flashes there. So it'll
be interesting to see what. It'll be like a renewed Lex Luthor, like kind of like, oh, I got my first new Legion of Doom idea. And it'll be like, well, it's not your first, but all right. Yeah, so it's gonna be interesting. So I'm in.
Yeah, I'm very much excited for that. And also too, I'm curious to see, you know, when the inevitable first crossover for the Absolute universe happens. As well. Do you think we get that in 2025 or is that a 2026 thing?
I hope they take their time with it. We got to launch new books in 2025, and I think they should just take their time, launch the new books, do this MCU style, let every character get their due first, bring them together in their own universe, and then do a crossover with the main DC universe. I mean, I know sometimes we like to do little teaser and foreshadow events. So if like one character happens to cross over, if Absolute Flash runs his ass into the main universe for like a panel or two, and it's like a big weird thing, and then gets back to his own universe, but is aware like there's this other one, like that's the kind of stuff we can start to build on. But I want it to be slow, and I don't think you should rush this at all, because there is no pun intended, there is no doomsday clock hanging over this. So like right. You don't have to do that. Doomsday's or Darkseid's universe can cook for as long as it needs to, because time doesn't matter. Like if it cooks for years in its own continuity, whenever they cross over with the DCU, it's just like that's whenever they cross over. So there is no fucking whoa,
man. hey, oh.
So there is no pressing reason to run and rush all of this. So like, let's not commit any unforced errors like I just did. Yeah. Wow. 6-7 seasons. That the first time, just wow. Everybody chat going crazy. Can't get anything. It's like my kids are in the room. Oh man. Yeah. So no need to rush this. So let's just take our time and enjoy it. This is fun. We are talking about DC Comics characters weekly with enthusiasm that we haven't seen in a long time. Right now, the most thing I'm most excited for is seeing what Flash, Green Lantern, and Martian Manhunter look like.
Oh man, I forgot about Absolute Flash too, so that's a good reminder for that. Yeah, big things coming. I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think they should if they have a plan in place to do it in 2025, and it's just that was always the plan, cool. Like I whatever that is for them, and if that takes a year or two, I'm good with it. I just want it to be good.
You guys in the comments are out of control. Chris Jefferson. Chris Jefferson over on YouTube says reset the sign to 0 days without a workplace accident. Yep, there we go. We are back to 0.
And Brad with the language, very nice. If we could have an image of
nice
Captain
Marvel
America
reference, we see you. Yeah, Brant,
nice.
We see you over there on Twitch with the Avengers reference, and Damon Gray with the TV production reference. There's my one F-bomb we're budgeted for. Yeah, that before
Kofi bringing the outlaw. Oh, that's a great one. Oh, way to go, Brant. Okay, good job. All right, well, I'm gonna close this out here with a switch over to the Star Wars world, and moving over to tabletop. Star Wars, the deck building game, released not that crazy long ago, and now it has a brand new sequel, but this one is like that one, a standalone edition. You can just grab this, and this one jumps into the Clone Wars side. So the deck building game, for those who don't know, is kind of separate from, there's actually a Star Wars Unlimited TCG that's out there as well, which is also fantastic. This one is straight up 1v1. One side plays as the rebels, and one side plays as Imperials, right? It's that kind of thing, right? And you have this counter on the other side of the board, which essentially shows you where the force is. So it can be on the light side, it can be on the dark side, and depending on which player has it more towards their side, cards allow them to do certain things, little bonus actions, things like that. And so there's this kind of tug of war that's happening with the force on one side, and then you're also building out buying cards from the Galaxy Row, and you're buying cards and ships a lot of times. This one actually puts a lot of emphasis on like the cruisers and the fighters, the fighter jets and things like that. The vehicles actually get a lot of love in this game because they are kind of your main defense. You're protecting your base, and to do that, you need to have ships kind of soaking up damage in front of it. But you also you still have all of the characters you know and love from this era. They're all in here. Obi-Wan, Mace Windu, General Grievous, they're all in here, and they all have like really big abilities that can kind of change the tide of things when you pull them. You are deck building, so as you buy new cards, you're putting it in your deck, and once you shuffle them all up again on kind of upcoming turns, you get more and more options to play. So it is one of the things that, like, this game is super easy to teach, regardless of like the amount of history you have with even Star Wars as a franchise. The core mechanics of this you can pick up. If someone's teaching you who has played before, you can pick this up in probably 15 minutes. Like it's that quick of a teach. If you're both learning for the first time, maybe it takes about 20 to 25 minutes to like really get the hang of things, but it's still a super easy teach. You can learn it in one session as you play. And you're just be going head to head, and sooner than you think, you'll be like really kind of exploring it's a really simple game to pick up and play, but there's actually a lot of depth to it. So as you learn the cards, as you learn what units do what, a lot of the bases have different abilities that come with them. So like, it's not just one base that needs to get destroyed. Typically it's like 4 or 5. So you have a couple different options to like, you can come back in this game. Like if you get absolutely just shred on the first base, you can come back and win the game because let me adapt some things. You can, there's a lot of complexity to it, but it's super approachable. And the artwork is great. If you're a fan of the Clone Wars era, obviously the first game took on the original trilogy. So straight up like, Luke and Darth and all that stuff. This one is all of the Clone Wars. So like each one of them is standalone. So you could pick up either one depending on which era of the franchise you love the most. I do hope this one has a lot of Outer Rim characters as well, right? So like Cad Bane, there's not like Mandalorian Mando, Grogu's not in this game, but you still get like a lot of those other characters that kind of were around in this era. I do kind of hope at some point we get a Mandalorian, like straight up, like almost show adaptation set, so we can kind of get some of those characters and maybe move further into that realm. But if you're a Clone Wars fan and you also like learning new games, this is an easy recommendation. I think this was excellent. The first one kind of snuck up on me. I didn't expect it to be that addictive and that great, and so this one did not sneak up on me this time around. I am very excited for this, so I hope they continue. They actually recently announced that they're going to continue to move forward with this as a like core franchise for Fantasy Flight games, so we will get other editions of this game. I'm curious to see what the next one is. So yeah, can't recommend it enough. It's out now. So Star Wars the Deck Building Game Clone Wars Edition, that is your review for that. That is my ending to Matt's agenda segment. Kofi,
I would like to apologize to the audience today for not fully doing my job. We had a kind of little comic book get together last night, so I didn't make it out to see Flight Risk with Mark Wahlberg. And usually I'm here for you guys with the movie recommendations, but this week I couldn't do it. So I can't explain to you Mark Wahlberg's hair in that movie or what Mel Gibson's doing directing a B-movie single setting thriller. But, I look forward to streaming it on home video with the rest of you. So my bad, guys. We had to do a company event this week, but we'll be back on it next week. It's going to be a fun week next week. We're going to have Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. We are going to be talking about some other good things happening in the world, and we are slowly climbing out of the January doldrums, and we're going to be getting into a year that, as Matt has pointed out, is going to be rich in content. From the minute we hit about February on, we're going to be rolling. So it's good to have everybody here. I'm so glad to be talking with you guys. This week while we were just kind of reminiscing and looking back as we all got together, it was funny to see how far we've come. So thank you to everybody for listening to Comic Book Nation. We are the only show that does it all for geek culture and the official podcast of comicbook.com. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Janelle Wheeler, who's hopping off and getting back to doing badass mom streamer stuff. Hope you have a good weekend, Jay. I know you're still listening. And to all of our regular listeners, from Ron to Chris Chipperson to Damon to Brad to Brant Gerga to Zach G to Distance Nerding and everybody in between. Don't get mad at me if I didn't mention you. I'm just scrolling in the chat. And if you want to get your name shouted out, be in the chat. Drop us a comment because we love to have you. We are Comic Book Nation, and now we are out of here. Peace.
This is